go ahead and get started. We'll take care of the business after it's all over. So anybody else got anything before we turn it over to Mike? Okay, Mike, the floor is yours.
All right, very good. So I'm going to try to keep it a little bit informal. I'll go through some, I'm not going to make any assumptions that folks know what Ham Radio Deluxe is, so I'll do a little bit of, foundations here, and then I can demo a few things, and then I'd like to leave some time for the dialogue and figure out if, for those that do use Ham Radio Deluxe, what would you like to see? I can, if you're, worrying about or wondering about how would you do this, how would you do that, I'm happy to talk about those things as well. And probably at the end of the show, I normally offer up a coupon code if anybody wants to buy it or renew at the end of the time. So how much time do I get?
Up to an hour.
Okay.
And Mike, I have enabled screen sharing, so you can do that.
All right, good. Well, I will, let's see, I'll grab the screen, and I'm going to go over, I'm going to probably pop back and forth between a couple screens here. And come over to this one first. I think this is the screen that most people are pretty familiar with. Presently, I have, I've got the demo radio connected, but I've got 3 or 4 radios here. I've got a Yaesu FT991A. I've got a IC910 that I use for satellite work. I don't have the antennas connected to it at the moment. I've got a Yaesu 857D. I've got an Elecraft K3. But I'm gonna disconnect this, and I'm gonna go and connect up the 991 here. Haven't connected the rig for a while, so I don't know exactly what I'm going to end up with here. And it might not be, yep, hang on. Let's see what I got going. I tried the 957. There we go. We'll just go there. The 857. All right. So, a few things that I guess I wanted to point out, and just as resources. A lot of folks may not recognize that this is here, but under the help menu, we tried to make this a lot better, and we're working on it. Happy to take any feedback that folks have. But a few months ago, around July, I guess maybe, we moved on to a new platform to support customers. And one of the things we did was we went onto a new help system. And the new help system has some proactive features for helping people find things. So for example, if once you click on that, and I'm going to go back and just show you where I went. I clicked on online help here. And then that took me over to here, where if I put in, Logbook of the World, it's going to come up with, things about what do you do with Logbook of the World? How do I set it up? Maybe I want to know about WSJTX, and how do I set that up? And I'll go here, and sometimes in this particular case, there's a story there, and then there's videos that go right to our YouTube channel where I'll demonstrate how to do certain things, and so those are pretty handy. I'm probably a visual learner. There's an online manual here which you can get down here where it says Ham Radio Deluxe User Guide. So if you click there, there's a user guide that's an introduction that shows you how to do the installation. And this kind of gets to what is Ham Radio Deluxe. Ham Radio Deluxe basically does 5 things, or there's 5 applications. There's a rig control application. I'll get into this. I'll do a little bit of walking around through these applications here in a moment. There's a logging application. The digital master application does most all of the digital modes, satellite tracking and rotor control. So those are 5 things that Ham Radio Deluxe is known for. But if I wanted to find out a little bit about, well, in the logbook, you know, how do I set things up? How do I set up my station so I can go down here and it'll show me step by step how to, you know, put the station together. And so a lot of folks in the past had said, well, you know, Mike, I really like the PDF version of a manual. And we kept PDF versions of the manuals current for a while, actually for many years. And it became difficult to deal with because someone would have a copy of the manual. I always said, and I worked for the phone company. I worked for Verizon for a little over 10 years. And we used to make jokes about the phone book, that it was only good on the day it was printed. It was good, you know, out of date on the day it was printed. So the manual's like that. It's out of date on the day that it's printed into a PDF. So we basically took the manual and we put it online. And when we change something in the software, I can go and update the manual right away, and then everybody gets the update. So that's one of the things that we've done there. We've always got our release notes. If you ever want to know, you know, what's changed in the application lately, you can click there, and I'll go back and do that again while the page is loading. But it's the second one down, which is the release notes, which will take you to here. And you can, it also show you what's in development right now. So the dev list is what the team is currently working on. Then you get down into, you know, these are the releases here. It'll give you an overview of what the releases are. It'll show you the content that changed. If our customers report something that's actually a defect in the software, or if they ask us to, you know, make certain enhancements or changes, you can see those there, but we'll give the customer a tracking number so that they can follow along. And then if, for example, I'll just look for something kind of specific here. If someone reported a particular item, let's just figure out one that I know that a customer reported. If I click on it, it'll take me to the detail, and I can see conversations between the developers and the beta testers. And if I think, you know, if I'm the customer and I'm reading this and I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, they didn't quite get my point here. I should contact them again and let them know that that there's more to the story. But that's where you get to that. And then our user community is pretty vibrant. So, and I'll kind of get in a moment into how we sell and support the product, but the user community is a forum where people get in and they ask each other questions, kind of support each other in the process, learn from each other, and that's really helpful. It searches too, so if you wanted to find out something about satellites, you put in satellites, and you can go into, you know, some of the stories that people have put in there. So it's pretty helpful if you're trying to figure out, well, I wonder if anybody else has come across this. It's a good place to go and try to see that. Our YouTube channel is the next one down. And I try to add things that are interesting, or, you know, recently I do my DXCC applications once a year. And so the last time I did one, actually I've recorded this video. I probably did the last one about 6 or 8 years ago. So I thought I'd do a new one and just kind of talk about the process of doing the online application and figuring out what cards need to be submitted. We just added the county's award in December. So I did a video kind of talking through how to manage your county's awards, how to print using certain printers. We introduced the bulk call sign lookup feature. So a lot of guys were saying, hey, you know, when I import my log from various different programs, I have to go in and do a lookup one at a time. So it brings back the data from QRZ or HamCall or QTH or HamQTH or whatever. So we implemented a feature that enables bulk lookup. So you just select a bunch of them, and I can probably show you that if you want to see it. But all the videos are under, you know, the video link, and we've even got presentations from Hamcom and certain kinds of things there. So that's pretty popular. So the nice thing about that is that if you want to go and see, you know, how I approach certain things. You can fire up the video, and if I'm if I'm going too fast, you can stop. You can pause the video. You can run it back. You can, you know, follow along at your own pace just by pausing the video and coming back to it. And then, you know, this will, you know, the check for updates is there. It takes you to the page. It shows you whether or not we've got updates. The license manager, this is something that we replaced in 2019, July of 2019. We put in place a new software license manager because we had a number of issues with customers and not being able to get to their keys, and the old system really wasn't supporting the volume of business we're doing. You can see what kind of features that are turned on for you or enabled for you. I can talk about that here in a little bit too. So those are the places where you go and find those things. I'll do a couple more quick things here. If you have ever been one of our customers, you can go to keyretrieval.hamradiodeluxe.com. That'll take you to a page where you put in your email address, and the system will send you your software activation key. It's important to point out here that although we hams, you know, we love our call signs, and we generally believe that our call signs are our unique identifier. Probably many of us know each other by call signs probably before we know each other by name. But in these systems, they weren't built for ham radio. So you have to have one email address that you stick with. So if I went in, I've got a test one I'm just going to put in and check the box saying I'm not a robot, and then click OK. And then it's just going to go and send me my my license key via email. So if you ever forget it, you can go there. And if you don't find it, so I'm going to refresh this screen or go back. And there you can see that the email came up showing the key. I'm not gonna show everybody my key, so let's just go there. So I'm going to put in a bogus email address. And if you put in one and the system doesn't find it, it'll tell you down here that we didn't find it. And if you click here, it'll take you to a page that tells you what you should do if you don't happen to find it. A lot of times if people had bought it at a ham fest in years past, we didn't get the email address. So it's just a matter of matching up your call sign and some of the transaction data that we've got, and we'll get right to it. So that's a little bit about the resources that you find under help there. So you can have multiple radios connected at the same time. I'm going to see if my icon will connect. There we go. So some people would say to me, how many radios can I have connected to Ham Radio Deluxe? And the answer is as many as you can afford. There's no limitation. You would just see them all in these various different tabs up here. And, you know, they basically all just kind of work the same way. Basically, I'm on the satellite rig, but I could go, you know, to various different frequencies and bands, change mode. I'm gonna go back to the 857. I can change mode. You know, you can see the mode changing up here. I'm going to stay on upper sideband because I'm going to do a little FT8 here in a moment, probably. But you can, a lot of people would also say, you know, can I program the memories in my radio? Or trying to work around my microphone here. But you can kind of set things up to where you, you know, you can have them right here without having to program them into the radio. So, and I can show you how to do that. If I show the markers, I can see them down here. So you can see the favorites here. And if, for example, you know, I want to have a favorite for, you know, particular frequency, I can just put them there, and then with a click or two, I can get to where I want it. If I can type it in, 07400. I could go to, I can just basically change bands by, or modes, or, you know, pretty much anything I want to do right from the screen. For many years, I kind of put this, put my radios under the table, and I really didn't touch the radios. But for me, I'm pretty much a DXer. So one of the guys that used to do beta testing for us said, yeah, you know, the rig control thing is great, but it's kind of a means to an end. So I'm going to pop over to my other screen here. And go into Logbook for a little bit. Okay. Hopefully I got the Logbook screen up over here. You guys are seeing the Logbook screen? Yep. So,
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So this is, actually, this is where I spend most of my time. I want to go through, this is the log that I've got loaded. I've got about 7,200 Qs in this log. My awards tracking up here for DXCC shows me how many I've worked, how many I've confirmed, how many I need to work. And those 4 columns there are all about confirmation status. Have I worked them? Have I confirmed them? Do I need, which ones do I need? If I double click on the 5 here, it'll take me to the list of the 5 that I need, in addition to the one that most all of you need, you know, being North Korea. There's the other 4. I don't know if they're going to turn up Cure Island anytime soon. I think there was an expedition to go out there and they kind of got pushed off of it. But, you know, like they say, if you live long enough, you'll work them all. So, you know, hopefully I'll stick around long enough to work the rest of them. If let's say here on phone, or sorry, digital, I've worked 10, or I'm sorry, I've worked 152. I've confirmed 142. I could load those up and look at them. But what I want to do is figure out, how do I confirm the 10 that I've worked? I want to go and chase those down. So here's the 10 digital that I've worked. And I want a list of all of them. So I'm going to view all, and it's going to show me all the QSOs that I have with those 10 countries. And if I look down here in the lower right, it's going to show me that I've worked 12 QSOs within those 10 countries. So there's a few duplicates, but you know, you work them until you confirm them, right? That's at least what I do anyway. And I can find out, you know, if I'm looking over here and look at the QSO date, I see I've got some from 2020. I think I stand a pretty good chance of confirming those. If I go back far enough, you know, here's one from 2001. I may have to work that one again, because if I've not confirmed him in the last 19 years, I may not confirm it. I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to do the same thing with 40 meters. I've worked 247. I've confirmed 240. I'm going to double click on the 7. That loads up the 7 countries that I need to confirm with the QSOs. If I click on view all, it's going to show me all those, and I can highlight them all. Come down to File, Print, Labels. If I want to print those QSL labels, I can print the QSL labels and send them off. It'll mark the QSOs as QSL sent, and then I know I've sent those. I could add that column up here if I wanted to. By the way, I could come over here to Layout, come down to QSL sent, and pop it over there. And I'm going to move it down a little bit. I want to put it down to the bottom of the list. And out here to the right, I can see whether or not I've sent those QSLs before. But you can take any column or any field in the database and you can put it up on the screen. So that's a little bit about the awards tracking. Like I said, that we put the county's award in December. Really happy to do that. I've been trying to get that done for quite a while. I'm not as far along with this, I suppose. Now that I'm in Australia, I'll probably be able to work a lot more counties than I did before. But anyway, so that's the awards tracking. Down here in the lower screen here, we've got the DX cluster panel. And right now, the DX cluster shows me whether I've worked the country, so which is this first column here, whether I've worked this country, whether I've worked the country on this band, whether I've worked it on this mode, whether or not they participate in Logbook of the World. Over here in the far right, I can see whether I've worked that particular station before. Some people are interested in that. I'm not particularly interested in it, but a lot of the digital modes folks are interested in that. We're going to be improving that here in a bit. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But you can see that most of these things are coming down. They're all green check marks. Well, they're all green check marks because if I go back and look at my DXCC totals, I've pretty much confirmed everything I've worked. I mean, I've got 58 challenge credits out here, challenge QSOs that I need to confirm, but most all of them have been confirmed. So if I'm seeing a field of green, I can drop down this filter and say, show me only the DX spots for the bands that I need to confirm. So now I only have the short list of the QSO or the stations that are on the air right now that I need to go and work. So if I double click this, we'll see that it changes the frequency and mode of the radio to that particular band. If I hear him, I can work him. There's a couple ways I can put him in the log. I can click on this and put him in the log. I can right click on this and put him in the log. And when I do, it'll do the, the lookup, and I'll immediately see who the guy is, where he is, if his coordinates have been entered in on the lookup sources. I can turn the rotor if I don't have a rotor for 160 or a directional antenna for 160, but you can do that and then just save it. I'm not going to save it because this is my active log, but save it, and then it goes into the logbook. Once it goes into the logbook, you can have it automatically upload to Club Log, EQSL, QRZ log, and hrdlog.net. We don't do uploads automatically into Logbook of the World, primarily because there's no way to correct data entry errors there. So once we're able to correct data entry errors in Logbook of the World, we can automate that as well. But I also added the fields over here on the far right that show whether or not I've sent the QSO up to Logbook of the World, or if I want to do the download, I click on the download button, and looks like I haven't downloaded for a week, so I'm going to click download and see what comes along. And I've got 5 new ones and a warning. The warning's coming up because this station right here actually was worked with my VK call. So it's not in this log, and that's okay. I'll just go back and confirm that into my VK log later. But I can, I loaded up ADIF master. So if I want to click view ADIF, I can see which ones are coming in. I want to see what QSOs are about to be, and they're all FT8, turns out. So I'm going to save those to the database, and then we're done. It'll update. I can go back over here into the awards tracking, and I can refresh this to see if the 10 went down to something less than 10. But nothing new. The numbers aren't reduced, so those didn't help me with any of my awards totals. But when you see the X here, it means that this is a station that I have not worked. This is a country that I've not worked on that particular band. If there's an X there, it would show that I've not worked it on that particular mode. If there were an X over in the country column, that's an all-time new one. So if somebody spotted North Korea, it would show up with an X, and then my cell phone would be going off with alarms and stuff like that, telling me I need to make a run for the radio so I can get in the pilot. If there's a yellow yield sign, I'm going to change this and see if a yellow yield sign will come up. The yellow yield sign, no, there's not anything out there right now, but if there's a yellow yield sign there, it means that you've worked it, but you haven't confirmed it. So the X means you haven't worked it. The yellow yield sign means you've worked it, but you haven't confirmed it. And the check mark means you have confirmed it. Want to point out a couple more things with this. This pane over here is really helpful. It's called the lookup pane. A lot of people come up and it'll show the radio pane by default, but I'm going to click the lookup pane. And if I just click on W6QR, it'll go out and do a lookup for W6QR. I can see whether or not I've worked him before. I have not. Here's his information. Here's, about that country. I can see that I've, worked all these different bands and modes for that country. Obviously the United States isn't particularly rare. I'll come down here to this one in Asiatic Russia, bring that one up. I can see his name, his email address. I can see what bands and modes I've worked him on. I'm going to go over to this one. Whoops, that's not the one I wanted. This one, KM4FO. I've worked him before. I can see that because there's an X over here to the right. If I click him and put him up in these lookup results, I can see that I've worked him on 40-meter side or 40-meter sideband. If I pull up the logbook and start to put him in the log, I could go over here to the logbook tab and it will automatically show me when I've worked him before. So if you're ever on the air and you hear guys working each other and someone will say, well, gosh, KN4RUZ, Wilton, we've worked before. We worked on, November 18th in 2002. And if I put notes in here about, you were using an FTDX 5000 or something like that, I could say, how's that 5000 working for you or something? And it would pop up there and I would know. So I'm gonna go and connect the rotor for a second. My rotor, by the way, is not calibrated. I've been tinkering with that a little bit lately. So so just ignore the fact that it's not well calibrated, but within the rotor app, right now I'm pointing at due north, basically. If I come over here, you can hear the rotor turning. Come over here to 61 degrees. And within the rotor app, you can see the rotor turning and so on. I could go pretty much anywhere. If I want to aim at Europe, basically, I can do that from here. Within Logbook, if I happen to see a station that I want to work, let's say this guy, for example, because I haven't worked that country, Armenia, on 40 meters before. So I want to go and say I'm going to work him. And I open up the add log entry form. And by clicking here, you might have heard the rotor turning, but by clicking here, I can, within this form, change the azimuth of the rotor to get to this guy. So that's how the rotor app interacts with Logbook. I'm going to go over to the satellite app, which, as I mentioned earlier, I don't have my satellite gear set up at the moment, but I'll give a little bit of a run through here. So right now we've got AO92 that's that's making a pass over Western Australia. Went pretty close to my former home of Dallas here, well, or maybe that's the next pass that's coming. It's actually the next pass. I can see, and actually I haven't changed my home location, so I'm still showing it. So for all these passes that are shown here, I can see that pass right here in the lower right-hand screen. I can tell when it's going to pass by my location. I can also see that it's going to be a better pass coming up Monday at 4:30. The Kepler data, you can update it by just downloading it, and all those sources are kept up by AMSAT and various other sources. You can add new satellites in here. If you want to add new satellites, you can decide which ones you want to see, which ones you don't want to see. You can put all the passes up there so that you can see them all together. These happen to be all the FO29 passes, but you could select AO92, and it'll just show you all the AO92 passes. You can say show me all, and it'll show you all the passes. I don't find that particularly helpful. So you know, sometimes if I'm only looking at one, I want to know just that one. So one of the things we're going to do with this is, because I've been licensed since 1974. I know I don't look very old, but I'll be 60 this year. My wife keeps reminding me. And but just as of last year, I really hadn't done much with satellites. So I thought, if I'm really going to understand what people are up against here, I should probably work some satellite QSOs. So I got in there, and I found myself having to bounce back and forth between applications because satellite QSOs go pretty quickly. You don't get a lot of time, so you got to get through your exchange and off to the next one, or let somebody else go. And so what we're going to do with this is put a little quick log entry screen down in the lower right, so that you can very quickly put in their call sign. It'll show you what their grid is. You can put their name in there, just very minor information, and you can save it right from there without having to bounce over into another application to do it. So that's one of the things that we're working on. Digital Master is kind of still the mainstay for everything but the WSJTX modes. And we just brought in another developer who's done a lot of work on digital modes to kind of help do some of the improvements around Digital Master. So we'll be putting some focus into Digital Master this year. But this has been really popular for RTTY and PSK31, but it's actually capable of doing a whole lot of modes here. I know a lot of guys that use our software in the RTTY contests. I've used it a lot for PSK31. I've kind of tinkered with just about all this stuff, but you know, that's how it works. And again, the call sign lookup thing works the same as it does in the logbook. If I put in a call sign, you know, I've logged this one. Let's say this is going to be PSK31, which this would fill automatically if I was actually doing this in a real live QSO. If I click add and I go over into logbook, I'll see that my QSO has been added into the logbook. So the nice thing about this is, regardless of where you're operating or what you're trying to do, you have one consolidated logbook that everything you do is put in there. And, you know, for me, I've got multiple different stations, multiple different computers, but always just one computer doing the uploads, downloads to Logbook of the World and so on, just to keep things simple. And then I kind of sync the data, you know, the log back into the other machines. But for people who want to just keep it simple, if you just have one computer, one station, everything's consolidated into one logbook. So that's kind of nice. So I hit all those. I'm going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to flip over to the other screen here for a second. Okay. At this point, you should see JTDX. This is actually remote ham radio. So I'm using remote ham radio at the moment just because the antennas that I've got up aren't particularly great. So I'm using this right now. And I can see some activity on 20 meters. So I'm going to go and see if I can work some FT8 here. I feel like I ought to erase the field here so I can make sure I know what's come up since I've been watching. Hang on a second. Let me look at something here. Yeah, looking good. Hang on once. I'm going to restart this just for fun. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to call this guy, and meanwhile, I think I'm pointed at him, so that's good. And one of the reasons why I'm working some FT8 right now is we have a feature that enables, so a lot of people say, why don't you implement FT8 and JT65 or JT65, or, you know, I'm just going to slide this over. That QSO just went into my log with lookup and everything. So I'm going to bring that back here in a second once I get a few QSOs in the midst. Maybe I'll CQ here. Once this finishes up. So folks would say, well, you know, why don't you add FT8 and FT4 into DM780? And part of the answer is that we went to add JT65 some years ago, and the author of JT65 objected at Hamvention. So we backed off of that. After I really had we had a developer that spent about a year on it, off and on. And at the end of the day, the world kind of moved beyond JT65 and moved on to FT8. And then the world moved from FT8 to FT4. It's really hard to keep up with them. So what we've done is we've integrated the application so that you don't have to worry about whether or not you've got to import and export, or sorry, export and import QSOs. It all happens automatically. I'm going to pull this up and show you how that works here. And this is my log. You can see the last few, the last QSO went directly in, but that's kind of how it works. And then on that QSO, you know, it's easier to see on the other screen, but I can see the QSO, a logbook of the world sent is no. So I'm going to upload that after all this is over. There we go. I'm going to work this one. And although I'm located in Australia, I'm working off of a station in the Northeast United States. So I'm beaming to Europe right now. I don't know about you. I had tried JT65 for a while, but as a DXer, I'm used to my QSOs being about 5 seconds long. And the JT65 QSOs were like watching paint dry. FT8's a lot better, and FT4 is even better than that. So I want to see if I get an answer from this one, and then I'll probably jump out of it. Nope, he's on to somebody else. I'm going to try this one real quick. Oh, there's a VU2. We'll go and work him. Let me flip the beam around. You guys could probably, if you're tuned to 14074, you could probably hear me off the side. But if this one doesn't answer back, but I mean, basically, what I'm trying to demonstrate, what I did demonstrate, is that as soon as this QSO finishes up, it goes directly into the log. You don't have to export and import. It's all taken care of for you there. Yeah, I'm gonna kill this off. So let me talk about a few other things here, and then I'll take some questions and we'll go from there. So we get a lot of questions about the software and what do you get when you buy it and things of that nature. And we sell the software basically. Some people call it a lifetime license. We sell perpetual licenses. And perpetual license means you buy it, you can run it forever. We also ask you to try to stay as up to date as you can, because we do bug fixes and things of that nature. Now I'm in the process of working IT9 in FT8, so you may see that pop up at the top of the list here in a second as we talk. Actually, I haven't flipped the screens over, so I'm going to do that. There we go. So the normal price is $99.95. Once you do that once in a lifetime, you don't ever have to pay full price again. We've got lots of people that do, and thank you for your donation. But if once you buy it, you have 12 months of what we call software maintenance and support. So during that period of time, you're entitled to direct access to the tech support team. At the end of 12 months, you're entitled to all the feature enhancements that have been done during that 12-month period of time. And if at the end of 12 months, it does everything you need it to do, great. Don't pay us any more money. Keep doing the updates and everything works out great. If on the other hand, you need our support, then that's what we're there for. And you can renew at any time. You don't have to do that at the end of the first 12 months. You can wait until you need it, frankly, if you want to. But it does help support the ongoing support and development of the software. And when you do the next 12 months, you get access to the tech support and you get the feature enhancements that we do. And some of the feature enhancements are locked out just for people who have renewed. And when you get a feature, you get that feature forever. And at the end of that 12 months, you have all the features that we've released during that period of time, or up till the end of that time. It catches you up. And the price of the software maintenance and support renewals is always 50% of the full price. So if full price is $99.95, the renewals are $49.95. During holidays, we do certain kinds of promotions and specials. So, if you need to, some people wait to do the renewals then, and that's perfectly fine. So we don't do subscriptions. A lot of people say, yeah, I'm one of your subscribers. And I chuckle because we don't have subscribers. If I have a subscription to CQ Magazine and my subscription runs out, I get no more CQ Magazine. That's not how our software works. If you buy the software, you own it, and you can run it forever. It doesn't stop running once the 12 months runs out. You just keep using it and keep installing the upgrades, but you don't get the feature enhancements, and you don't get the access to the support team, but you do get the bug fixes and the performance improvements. So very highly recommended. So I've eaten up 45 minutes kind of talking through some of this stuff. So I wanted to, like I said, I'm happy to stay as long as you need me. And by the way, my wife and my oldest daughter, who kind of run this show when I'm not doing it, I'm doing my day job. Here's the coupon code. If you want to take this down, I think it says 30% off. Does it say 30? Yeah, I think hang on a second. I have to ask him. Write down the code and I'll find out whether or not I think it's 30% off.
I can't see it because my screen is a little.
Okay. Well, it's CPARC 30. So it's CPARC 30. CPARC 30. I'm going to ask him what the discount level is here real quick. Actually, I could just go and look myself, I suppose. So while I'm doing that, what questions can I answer? What would you like to see? What's working well? What would you like us to improve? All that kind of stuff.
Mike, this is Greg. I noticed when you worked the FT8 QSO a few minutes ago, it went directly into your log. Mine pops up and prompts me to log it. Is that from the checkbox in WSJTX?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I uncheck that, it'll log it directly. I wasn't sure whether that would do that.
Yeah,
or not.
And I don't know what it's called in WSJTX. I usually use JTDX, but they both have that same feature where if you check or uncheck the box, the QSO will go directly in. And I know in one of them, I think they call it contest mode. I think, I can't remember. But yeah, I mean, I got kind of tired of the thing popping up. And so I just thought, well, I'll just work it and have it go automatically in, but that's how you do it.
Okay. I know that one question that I had been asked prior to this is in relation to contesting and contest reporting and score tallying.
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak to that just a minute?
Yeah. Some years ago, so I'm going to backtrack just a little bit. I started this company with a couple partners in 2012. So I had a partner who lived in Florida, who ran the company for up until the end of 2016, and then he left the company. My remaining partner is Randy Gautry, K0CBH. He's the president of TimeWave. And so we had done a lot of things to make changes and so on. Now I'm gonna tell you that I lost track. Give me the crux of your question again.
Contest reporting.
Right. Okay. So back before 2017, really before I was running the show, somebody had attempted to put in a contest function, and it's really not functional. So people will say, when are you going to fix the contest function? And frankly, I want to remove it completely. Well, let me put it this way. I want to replace it completely. So we're working with somebody right now to completely replace the contest functionality with an honest to goodness real contest functionality, and it's based on existing. All I can say about it is it's based on existing code. So we'll be licensing or integrating with existing code, so we know that it works out of the box. That's some work that we'll be doing this year.
So
when
Mike,
we do,
Mike, in that regard, do you not have contest templates built into this for the different contests?
we do, but it's just not, it's not good. I mean, I've used it. I've used it for sweepstakes. At one point I had the top score and all-time score in sweepstakes for the Indiana section. Yeah, I'm not in the top 10 anymore, but so yeah, I've used it just kind of casually, but it doesn't do dupe checking. It doesn't do scoring. So it's really more of a casual, and you can move the form around, or you can put fields in it. If you want the, however your exchange is going to be built, you can move the things around, but it's not meant for serious contesting.
Yeah. Mike, my name is Russell. My call is KK4WX is my call. But anyway, I use N3FJP's software. The main log is AC log, but then he's got all kind of other logs for contesting.
Yeah.
And I'm probably one of the ones that is most interested in that. But we talked last night a little bit about, could we use Ham Radio Deluxe to log, and then take part of those log, those contacts, those QSOs that we log down during a contest, and then load them up into N3FJP and let that software,
I believe you. Yeah.
Work the figure up the score and all that.
I believe you can. I've never done it, but I believe you can. There's no reason that I know of that you couldn't do that. I will also say that, we talked a while ago, and I'm still trying to make some more FT4Q or FT8 QSOs. You can also, much in the same way that WSJTX and JTDX can automatically populate QSOs into the logbook, you can use N1MM or N1FJP or N3FJP. You can use one of those programs, and the QSOs will go automatically into the logbook, just like they did for WSJTX. And that's all set up in here under Tools, Configure, QSO forwarding. And I don't know why it's called QSO forwarding, but yeah, it's all set up over here. So you basically, the program, whether it's JTDX or WSJTX, will broadcast that QSO information, and we listen for it on port 233, or N3FJP or N1MM will broadcast it on this port, and the same thing happens. So you could do it that way. You could probably, I'm just telling you, I haven't done it, but I don't know of any reason why you couldn't make the QSOs in logbook and import them into FJP, and it would score it for you. What you don't get, though, I mean, if I'm making a serious attempt at contesting, I want something that's going to do dupe checking along the way,
right?
And you don't get that. I mean, I might convince myself that I can wait to see the score until it's over, but I think, most people are going to get annoyed with me if I call them and they already have me in the log, right?
Right. Well, if my present log that's in AC log, I call it my master log. I could just, if I bought your software, I could go on ahead and upload my master log to Ham Radio Deluxe in an ADIF file or something?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I'll do one for you. I mean, I can, if I come over here, I've got a test log here. And these are a bunch of QSOs that I'm just going to make sure that I am in my test log. I'm just going to kill them off.
Hey, Mike, while you're doing that, what is your lack of the ability to upload the logbook of the world? I mean, is that hindering your sales here, or because I mean that's the primary logging program that I would use outside of EQSL.
We don't have any problem uploading into logbook of the world.
Okay, I thought I heard you mention that earlier, or something about.
Oh,
log.
no.
He
Nope.
said it wasn't automatic.
Yeah, I said it wasn't automatic.
Yeah, okay. So, and I use the same program Russ uses, and it's, you just go in there and upload it manually, and you download manually. So, yeah, you're good then. Okay, all right. So I misunderstood that. I'm sorry.
Yep. So I'm just going to go and I picked a log here. I'm going to import it, showing me an error. That's fine because fields that aren't supported by ADIF aren't going to get pulled in. So I just imported that. And one of the things, you can import multiple logs. So if you have, multiple, I tell people that they should really only have just one log if they've got one call. I've got 2 logs because I've got 2 calls, but keeping it all in one log makes getting your reports, your award reporting better managed. It helps you better upload, download from Logbook of the World and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, if I had, for example, and I'll show you because I just logged that that station, even though I only have one to upload. If I select that one and then click on the upload button, it's going to say, okay, fine, we're ready to go. I click on upload. It builds an ADIF file in the background. It uses TQSL. So you have to have TQSL installed. So in the background, basically, it goes and builds that ADIF, sends it in a command line to Logbook of the World and uploads it. And then when it's done, it shows that checked off to yes. And then if I go back over into, I'm going to pop this over here. I'll go into my Logbook of the World account. And I'm going to look at the last QSO that uploaded. And it should be that one that I just put in there. And I want to come back to this in a moment too, because that's kind of cool. So my most recent QSO, I'm going to click on that. And it hasn't shown up yet. So it takes, depending on what's going on, sometimes Logbook of the World is busy and they queue up these files, but here within the next moment or two, it'll show up. I want to go back to the awards view for a moment. So if I'm looking at my awards tracking over here for DXCC, and then I want to compare it to what I've got here. Yeah. All right. We can see that this tracks exactly to what is in Logbook of the World. So if I go and look at, I've got 335, that's total current 335. I've got 305 CW. I've got 289 phone. You can see that here. I've got 142 digital. You see that here. So it's going to track exactly to all of what you have in Logbook of the World, which I think is really nice. And one of the things I tried to do when we built the awards tracking screen is make it look as close to Logbook of the World as you can, so it's really easy to kind of compare left to right so you can see what's out there. Over here I can see I've got one confirmation in 15 meters. That's this one right here. So there's a couple satellite QSOs I need to clean up in my log, but my challenge points are showing that I've received credits for 1918. That plus the one on 15 that's sitting out there brings me in at 1919. But that's how you can compare what's going on there.
All right, yes, Bobby. I had one comment. What Russ was talking about last night. To me, swap it around. You log your contest in the N3FJP, and then when you get through doing all that, you update LOTW as your master. Ham Radio Deluxe as your master log with the dates of the what you did in contest.
Yep.
Second thing, I've heard, are you changing the database, or are you intending to leave access and go to SQL?
We have to get rid of access. It's really old in the tooth, and it's becoming really difficult to support. And we do want to have a version for Mac and Linux at some point, and we've got to get off of access if we're ever going to be able to get onto Mac or Linux. So yeah, we're gonna probably in the second half of this year we'll move away from access, and we'll have probably, at least initially, the choice to select which database you want, and then eventually we'll move everything off of access onto SQL.
Can you not already do your SQL if you write your own SQL statements? You can do that now.
Anything you can connect to with an ODBC connection, you can use that as your log. So, if you're using MySQL or MariaDB or anything else that you can create a DSN for through an ODBC driver, you can do that. I mean, if I come up here to Manager and I want to add a database, I can say, okay, well, and I actually have to put something in here. But then under the advanced options, I can decide what kind of database it's going to be. If I want to go, basically with MySQL, you kind of need to create the database before you tell it to put the data there. I used to run MariaDB, which is a fork of MySQL. I used to run that all the time. It's fine. But the key is that some of us could figure that out, right? We could, put up an ODBC or a MySQL server or whatever. I've got a lot of clubs that have multi-stations. They have a MySQL server on their network. All the workstations connect to it. Literally, when somebody makes a QSO, it pops right up into the log that everybody's looking at. Some of us could figure that out. Not everybody will. So that's just kind of.
I've used MySQL just to see if I could do it. I'm still in Access book, and I'm pretty good at Access, so I've written a bunch of queries to see what I want to out of my log at some time.
Yep.
And the other question is just, I guess, a far-fetched. I wonder if the technology is there, and I wonder if you've thought about it. You've got all these digital modes in DM780.
Yep.
All right. But I'm tuning through. I hear all kind of digital signals. I don't have a clue what it is I'm hearing. Is there any way you could have the samples of the digital mode and it come up and say, oh, you're listening to PSK 31 or Domino or whatever some of the others are?
Right. So there is, but we would all have to agree to use it. There's something called an RSID that you can send at the end of your transmission. I'm getting ready to bring up DM780 and I'll show you where it's found. In the options under modes and IDs, there's something called a Reed Solomon ID. And if you enable this at the end of your transmission, regardless of whether you're using PSK31, RIDI, Domino, Olivia, it doesn't matter, whichever mode it is, at the end of each transmission, it'll send this ID. And when that happens, it'll pop up on the screen and it'll show you that this is PSK 63 or MFSK 16 or whatever it is. It'll show you, but we would all have to use it. Not everybody does. I mean, I don't have this connected to a rig at the moment, but if I did, I mean, we would see some of it. We would probably see about 15% of the people who are actually using that. But if everybody used it, it would actually work just like you said.
I've seen it come up in the bottom right-hand side of the screen sometime. What kind of signal it was. And I didn't know, why couldn't you do it on all of them? But you've got to have the SSID in there. But everybody's got to send it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
By the way, I did want to say, Bobby, that I agree with your point about using FJP as the contest program, but I would just say that when you do this, give some thought to turning on this this QSO forwarding, so you don't have to export the log from FJP and import it into Logbook. Because if you use this QSO forwarding function, what happens is every time a QSO goes into the log, the call sign lookup happens. So all the data that needs to get put into your log gets put into your log that way. Now, we just recently, like I said, enabled bulk call sign lookup. So I could select a bunch of these, right click, I do the lookup, and then the lookup will run on multiple QSOs. So if you made 1,000 QSOs in the contest, you could highlight them all. You could run call sign lookup. But if you have this QSO forwarding turned on, you don't need to do that. That'll be automatic.
I don't use that software, but I do use it with the FT modes to do it. So it would work the same way. Just set it up in there to talk to your logbook.
Yep. By the way, I did look this up. It is a 30% off. So you can do with CPark 30, you get 30% off a renewal or 30% off the purchase of the software for the first time. So you can that's good for 30 days. You can hand that out to your club members if they didn't join the meeting today, and they're welcome to use it anytime in the next 30 days.
Mike, this is Greg. In regard to changing from Access to SQL or another database, does that affect the way you back up your log? I'm really peculiar about backing up my log. It's quite valuable data to me. I actually back up my log to OneDrive and I archive it to Google Drive.
Yeah.
Does that does that change any if you change databases?
No, it won't. Hang on a second. I gotta update this. No, it won't, because basically we take a copy of the log in XML format and we put it wherever it is that you've designated it to go. So I haven't done it here, but I pretty much do exactly what you're talking about. I mean, you can see here that my primary log goes to Dropbox, or the backup goes to Dropbox. A copy goes to OneDrive. A copy goes to Box. I used to have iCloud and Google Drive also selected. So I had it going to 5 different cloud locations. And what I told people is that if something happens and I can't get to my log, the world has bigger problems than my log, because if all 5 of those services are offline, I talk to guys all the time and they'll say, well, I don't like that cloud stuff. I want one that I can, put under my desk or put it in my drawer or whatever. No, you don't. No, you don't. Sign up for the free Dropbox account and start there. But this happens automatically. And down here, you can decide whether or not you want to do it when the application opens. You want to do it when the application closes. You can do it after every 10 changes. You can do it, every, periodically 6 hours. So you can take it down to every 5 minutes if you're making a lot of queues. But occasionally, I'll just go and say, okay, I'm going to go and just run a backup right now. And it'll send a backup to all those cloud sources. So I highly recommend that.
Great. All right. Do we have any more questions for Mike?
So did you, I'm not sure I understood that, but did you say that you offered a cloud service to that, or you're just saying that your system will back it up to one of our cloud services that we subscribe to?
That's right, it will. And
okay.
You basically just in this screen, if I wanted to add another archive, I'll go here and I can, I'll select, let's say I haven't put it on Google Drive file stream, so I'll do that. And I'll go down into, maybe create a folder. To put that in. So now I'm working off of my Google Drive location. So now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 different cloud backup services going, each that I have installed on my computer. And then if I hit backup, it'll run the backups to all 4 of those at the same time. I think that's a really powerful thing. I mean, if you set this thing up, you never have to go and touch it because it just backs itself up and you don't ever have to worry about it. I agree with what Greg said. I mean, my log is probably the most important thing I have on my computer. Everything else, I mean, I use OneDrive for everything in my life. So if I replace my computer or the hard drive dies, I just grab another computer and install OneDrive, and all my software, all my files come back. I'll install Logbook of the World or TQSL, I'll install Ham Radio Deluxe and point it back at the backups, and I'm good to go. So it's, we've got there's a video also, I don't remember who asked that question, but if you go on our YouTube channel, I've got a video that I do on backup and recovery of your log, and it goes through the cloud backup stuff in there.
Mike, could you speak briefly to the difference between backup and archive?
Yep. Backup and the way this is used, backup is, there's 3 different kinds of files that we can store here. The first one is a backup, which is just a single file backup in XML. So that's the log in XML. Archive is, there's an archive folder and there's an archive file. So the archive folder is like a zip file, if you will. It's like a zip, .zip extension, because it is. And every time the log is a backup is taken, it puts it in a compressed file or zip file. That's what these compressed to folders are. And then, actually, I said that backwards. This is where you designate a folder where a zip copy of the file will go. And then the bottom 2 are where you select an archive folder where the file will go. So they're compressed in the archive format or in the compressed folder format. They're in full-blown file format there. I mean, if I go to my Dropbox account, I'm going to see, because it's sorted by date. And so this is the one that I just created right here. So it's up at the top. If I go, I'm going to go and create another one. And while that's running, we see it popping up right there at the top. Just another one. So these are the standalone files. If I went over into Box under log backups, I'm going to see these compressed files. These are the zip files that are created by the log backup. And there's a couple different places where I do that. But that's, like I said, I explained that in a level of detail probably in the YouTube videos.
Hey, Mike, you might have told us already, but did you ever tell us how much this discount code would give us?
Yeah, it's 30%. It's 30%. So if you're buying brand new, it's $30 off. If you're buying the renewal, it's $15 off, and the renewal ends up being $35.
Okay.
All right.
I spend more than that at McDonald's.
Yeah, so. I'm going to buy your product. So
I'll add one thing to that, Mike, that you guys do that I did not know until recently. If you do a recurring maintenance, you get a significant discount as well if you sign up and put a credit card in and say renew automatically every year. And I took advantage of that.
Yeah, and I'll show you that. Somebody at the Orlando Hamfest a few years back came to me and said, hey, you know what? If you guys would give me the option to renew this every year, I would just go and give you the credit card information and just renew it every year. Well, we don't handle credit cards. This is our website here, and it's on a platform that's managed by a third party called UltraCart. But what I think that was Greg, but what Greg's mentioning there is that you can come over here and you can, with a link that we send, you can get to a product where you commit to being rebilled once a year, and it's 40% off. So I think if Greg, if you're doing it, it's like $29 a year. And so it's a pretty good deal for that. But if you need that, or if you're interested in that, send me an email. It's you can send, it's Mike at hrdsoftwarellc.com, and but that you have to have bought it before, so you have to have the perpetual license first before you can buy a renewal. And then if you decide you want the 40% discount, then PayPal's not accepted for that because they can't do rebilling, but it is, like Greg said, a credit card, and you put it in, and UltraCart will rebill you whenever your software maintenance and support expires. Pretty cool.
And Mike, I did send that information out to our email group. So you all have it. If you don't have it, let me know and I'll be glad to resend it.
Yeah, about 15% of our customers do the auto renewal. So
well,
happy about that.
We're running a little long. I know Wilton has a hard cutoff at 10:30. Let me ask one more time if there are any other questions that we have of Mike. And I know it's getting late in Australia. All right, so I'm going to stop the recording.